This video presents the highlights of our 15-day river cruise and the tours of not only number of historic Dutch villages, but also our 3-day stay in Belgium. We started our trip by flying into Amsterdam, then to Brussels, where we boarded a bus to Bruges, where we stayed 3 days. We then went by motor coach to the Dutch capital of Amsterdam, where we boarded our river cruise ship, which served as our home for the balance of our trip. This map shows the general areas we visited in the Netherlands. Later in the video, Roland, our Grand Circle tour guide, will trace the specific route we took and the places we visited. With that as an introduction, we'll start our trip at the San Francisco International Airport, where we're ready to board our KLM flight to Amsterdam.
All set.
Ready to get your pictures taken?
Sure.
Always, huh? You too, hello? Okay. Well, we'll see you on board the airplane then.
Okay.
Well, there's our airplane. As you can see. Here we are taxiing out. There's liftoff. A good view of downtown San Francisco and the Bay Bridge with Yerba Buena, or Treasure Island there in the center. Another view of San Francisco and the Bay Bridge. We actually flew right over the Golden Gate Bridge. It was directly beneath us. This is a still shot of a TV monitor that was there in the aircraft cabin, and it was a moving map display, the airplane showing the position. You can see there's a red line behind it showing you where you have been. You can see we've taken off from San Francisco, and Spokane is directly in front of us. The display also showed ground speed, how high you were, remaining flight time, which as you can see here is 5 hours and 32 minutes. We're now way up there. There's Hudson Bay. That's a shot showing the monitor. You can see Greenland, Iceland, and the ground speed is 615 kilometers per hour. Here you can see where we're coming in over the Atlantic Ocean. And here we are. We're coming into Amsterdam Airport. We've landed, headed to the gate position. The fun has really begun, hasn't it? Are you tired?
No, I'm not tired.
Then you didn't sleep, huh?
No, I didn't sleep.
Wow.
But I'm not tired.
Well, you look fresh.
I loved what I've seen so far.
That's good. And you too, huh, Lois? There's Will over there. He's all ready for his next adventure, huh? Good.
Ready for lunch.
Ready for lunch, yeah. I'll eat anytime you want to. We'll probably have steak on the next flight, don't you think?
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, maybe just like our breakfast.
Yeah, probably chocolate sundae.
Yeah, right. There's the city hopper that we're going to take in Amsterdam and Brussels. interested in getting on this airplane. The airplane, huh?
This is a nice one, huh?
Yeah, there's a beautiful controller.
Duurde de gehele vlucht verboden. De apparatuur moet helemaal uitgeschakeld zijn, inclusief de standby-functie van uw draagbare telefoon. Wij wensen u een prettige vlucht. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Captain Gillett, it is I would like to welcome you on board. This is the flight to Brussels. This flight is operated by KLM City Opera in cooperation with KLM and SmartS. Our flight to Brussels today will be approximately 35 minutes. Please for the back of your seat in the upright position and follow the tables. Smoking is
On our way. You'll note that the cockpit door is open. I wonder if it's the same now after our 9/11 experience. And here we are coming into Brussels. Here's our hotel. And this isn't the front. You can hear the bus running. They just dropped us off. Here we are going into the hotel. Before we even have dinner, we're going to take a walking tour of the town with our Grand Circle director, who is Roland. So, let's go. Well, we were really tired, but it was fun just walking around the town, and we'll be really doing some intensive sightseeing tomorrow. But we did go down to the Market Square, and looked at all the neat buildings there.
This is the bigger part, and
Then we headed back to the hotel. Dinner that night right next to the Red Building in the restaurant there. Very interesting food. That's our hotel. So let's go back and have a night of sleep, shall we? Okay. See you in the morning. Coming back. Here it is, day 3. It's Monday, and we're in Bruges, and that's the Market Square. And after breakfast this morning, we're going to set off on a walking tour of this canal-filled former capital of West Flanders, and actually Europe's best preserved medieval city. So, let's meet up with our guide.
It's 10 kilometers. Now, in medieval time we had 50,000 people inside the town. It was one of the most populated towns of Europe, except Paris. But London, we had the same inhabitants of London as mainland and so on. And we had
Our guide took us down these interesting streets, told us about the architecture of each of the buildings. Our first stop was the Church of Our Lady, which was built during the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries. Here we are inside, and our guide is telling us about the statue that's behind there. It is by Michelangelo and represents Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus. During the French rule, as well as during World War II, the enemy appropriated this work of art. Luckily, it returned to its proper place each time. It is one of only a few of Michelangelo's works that's located outside of Italy. These steps lead up to a pulpit, which was used in earlier times to proclaim the Word of God. The sides are decorated with scenes from the Gospel. I'm always amazed at what I see in these churches, the craftsmanship, when you think how many years ago this was accomplished and with what tools they used. Here we are in the courtyard. We're now going to take a look at the tower.
In Brixton. The spire is 49 meters high and has to be restored. They worked on it from 1270 until 1340. It is the highest tower of 122 meters, but there was a German, he said to me, Sie sind ein Lügner, you are a liar, because we have a tower in Bayern of 131 meters.
We're continuing on our walking tour. We're down by the canal. See the boats there. We'll be taking a ride in a boat a little bit later. You can see the tower of the Church of Our Lady in the background there.
It declines.
This is a belfry that's there at the government building. It was finished at the end of the 15th century, and it dates back to the 13th century. You can taste 150 different kinds of beer. That's some good beer.
So there was the British license.
Now we're over at the Bourg.
During the French
Used to be the center of Bruges. It was here that Count Baldwin built his stronghold in 1864.
who dominated our city. The Flemish count, the Duke of Burgundy, the people of Oxford, the kings of Spain, and the emperors of Austria. And you see 24 blessings of count who depended for the record of the justice.
The Temple of the Holy Blood. It's of Romanesque origin.
And each year there is a big procession of
Now we're over, getting ready to take our boat trip.
And a lot of Americans come
We're going to say goodbye to our guide. Thank you.
Yes.
They can come with me to the lace jewel and you'll see how they make lace.
Yes,
Yes? There's a free afternoon after that.
The sights and sounds of a boat trip through the canal.
Of the 17th century. And so we have now a connection to Ghent, so those these houses. create vertical sketch. Now sketch is made in which direction you can move Skills are typical of low and colour shapes.
That was funny when you said about
And far we have a background noise of Bluetooth. This house has been lit 15-minute functioning. Now we confuse that we will be able to find peace. The last bit is the smallest bridge of the sea, which are so delicate.
We're going to be walking there a little later and we'll see a artist's drawing. I think you can see why Bruges has a reputation as the Venice of the North.
Benedictine sisters. The smallest bridge of this city, where we have the smallest bridge, but we also have the smallest window in Holland Star. This window above the bridge, our left-hand side, in the middle of the wall on the corner.
Oh, I see it, yeah. As we finished our boat cruise, we went on to a lace factory.
This lace is all locally made. You get a certificate with it. People make it at their home, especially for our shop. So you see the different designs they can make with the three basic stitches in the bottom lace. Now here I make a ribbon. I go from left to right, from right to left. Take two buttons, I make my stitch, put to a side, take the next two, make my stitch, put to a side, and so on. So normally with the most difficult ones you have a technical explanation that you know what stitch you have to use. Then I show you another kind of lace. That is the Renaissance lace. Renaissance lace is made with the ribbon. Only the ribbon, as you see here, is machine done, but the rest is hand done. So they join it together by hand, they fill the holes up with different thicker stitches. It's also linen. When it's made in Belgium, you find the tag. So with the bottom lace you get the certificate. With that kind of lace you find the tag at the back, a ticket that says handmade Belgian lace. That's all the lace you find at the other bar. So Renaissance lace is partly hand done, partly machine done. Modern lace is totally hand done.
Lace.
And in the modern lace you have 3 basic stitches.
3 basic stitches.
One stitch you make with 4 bobbins.
Okay.
Take one, 2 bobbins, make my stitch, put it in because at the first side you can next to a little at the end I put the needle in the right hole.
That's the mark. Okay.
To keep everything at the place, and I go the other way.
Well, now that you've seen it, can we do it? I don't think so. You can sure see why it costs so much.
So that's a whole sequence there then. Thank you very much.
And there's some of the finished products. I bought that for toilet We then headed back to the hotel, and on our way back we stopped and took a look at this artist, and guess what he was drawing? You're right, the bridge. And there's another picture of a bridge. Just where do you think that's at? I recognize the tower. Well, that's in our living room. And guess what? Here is the artist who painted it. That picture.
Thank you very much and have a very nice time.
Thank you.
Next time.
All right, we'll see you again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. With a picture in hand, we headed back to the hotel. Had dinner right there in the hotel, and the food was superb. Got a good night's sleep. Got up the next morning, and by gosh, it's Tuesday and it's day 4. Today we're going to be setting off for an excursion to Ghent. And Ghent was founded around AD 600. Let's catch up with our guide. We just got off the bus.
First of all, welcome in the city of Ghent.
Thank you.
You know that Ghent is a very old city, it's Flanders, Belgium. We must return to the 7th century. There was here a monk, Amandus was his name. And he was sent by the King of France, you see? Because he came here to preach the gospel.
Private house in the 14th century. Still standing. How about that? Private house.
Well, he was here, his father said to him, the 2 men that
That's all right. You can hear the winds really blowing. This is a gorgeous church. Work started on this massive project way back in 1228.
Yes, well, here
symbol is the symbol of the freedom of the city. Dus in de Middle Ages is het was zo that people who lived in the city they were free.
That's the bell that's particularly correct. That bell had been cracked, that's why it was there.
Is a stone of Greenwich, a limestone of Greenwich, came to here by ship over the coast, but the top dated of the beginning of the 16th century.
I'm taking this from a bridge. Western world.
We have here a nice view on the three towers of Ghent. It's especially it's in the middle of the Belgium of the city. And the last church is the St. David. The first one is the St. Nicholas Church. In the United States, the children became this motto. And then now there is a reparation to do. From there that you have this
Oh my goodness. What's in there?
Yes, this small one is in Flemish Renaissance, and that was a tax house. They had to pay taxes.
Look at that little house.
That's small.
And another right that the Ganta had, that was, they had the right to keep from the grain that was transported on the lake.
That's up in one way. That's in the other way.
De bovenaan van Constantinople en de first one. Willem van Dampierre. Dampierre is in French. The Prinsenhof.
Notice the detail.
In 1500 or 1500.
Pretty fabulous.
The man who discovered the south of America, the discovery of the
As you can see, I was fascinated with the buildings. Look at the filigree. As we were heading along here, you could hear up ahead a sound of the band. And by gosh, it was May 1st. The celebration smiles, though, I noticed. It was pretty cold out there. We were getting a little hungry, so had to do with Belgian waffles, huh?
Yeah, our first one.
Your first one.
Good.
Good. See the parade. Lois?
That's very good.
Well, after that, we headed on back to the bus, but first we stopped at St. Bavo's Cathedral. We wandered through the cathedral, enjoying the stained glass and looking at all the very intricate carvings. It's It's really been a nice day here in Ghent. And by the way, we did learn that the Treaty of Ghent was signed in 1814, ending the War of 1812 between the U.S. and Britain. It's approaching the time that we need to get back to the bus. Hopefully we can find it here. And then we'll make our way back to Bruges. Here we are, back to Bruges. We had the afternoon to walk around the town again. And that evening we had another good dinner, went to bed. And it's time now to get up in the morning and look here. It's day 5. It's Wednesday. And it's time for breakfast. Today we're going to go to Antwerp and Delft. But first, let's see whose breakfast this is.
Yeah, look at that. Early in the morning, but she looks bright-eyed. Really, he's going at it. Yeah, but I'm not sure.
The comments of Brabant, and they can't say that they have to soft G. They say, Goedemorgen. That's
On the bus.
I understand that you're from the province of Brabant. So it's good evening is goedenavond. But the people from Brabant say goedenavond.
Well, we're on our bus heading to Amsterdam, and our first stop is going to be here at Antwerp. We'll be taking a short walking tour, so let's join our tour guide.
And ending in Holland, which is on the other side. So 70 kilometers from here, you're at the coast side, where Holland lies. There is a difference in tide of 5 meters between low and high tide, which is quite respectable. As you can see, also the port activity used to be on the river side, but it has all been transferred to the north. A little bit, we are still number one what diamond is concerned in the world. More than 50% of the diamond trade runs through Antwerp, which is quite big.
This wall is built to keep the water out of the city. Down there is a castle, and we'll be going to the castle. But first, take a look at the sculptures which are on many of the buildings.
How do we know? In the 70s we made some excavations. We see the oldest part is the grey part, the dark part underneath, and that dates before 1200 maximum. The yellowish part, that's a renovation which was originally made by Charles V in 1520. It has always been the seat of the count, later, in the later date it was an imprisonment, and now it's already quite some time since the 50s a maritime museum. Let's have a look a little bit closer. Steps. So one with the left, one with the right. If you make a measure, you have about 1 meter 50 times 1,000 is 1,500 meters. The false corners, for instance, they were cooked. It was not attached to the city because Antwerp was always on the right bank. It's only when you see no bridges, we only have tunnels. It's when the first tunnels were created in 1933 to the state. North America, Canada, and the States.
Then we walked across the street to this building, and our guide explained what it was all about. So let's listen to him, shall we?
They told me to take such a building in those days. It's the meat hall or butcher's hall. So it's the guild house of the butchers. At the beginning of our golden age, perhaps I explain you also that we have a golden age in the 16th century. Antwerp port was the biggest port in the world, and that for a certain reason, because a new world was discovered. 1492, America was discovered by Columbus. 1499, Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese, found the way to Asia by crossing Cape Route of Africa. So all of a sudden, if you go to the market, products on the market were of origin the guild of the butchers or the rich merchants in Antwerp, but now it's the banks and insurance companies who have the highest rates. Nothing changed in the world, of course.
Then our guide took us to a building nearby. That was the first stock exchange.
Handing over the text. And the other thing which was created is the banknote. Because of that, until that moment, there were still coins used, so gold coins. So the banknote was also created here. But they created that as a stock exchange, but there was soon, only it served for 12 years, it was soon too small, and a new one in 1532 was created, and that was the grandmother of all stock exchanges in the world. Because after that level we cannot visit it because it's even further.
We are standing in front of the town hall. There's an awful lot of noise in the background that you can hear. The reason is the restoration work on the building.
Either steward, responsible partially of the golden age, 1 century later, 17th century. We can prove that because one of those was also the time that the separation of the Netherlands.
We walked around just enjoying the sights there at the town center.
If you go down, you have to stay again another year. We looked again at the plans, the Americans have it, and the Germans have it. So we were part of the German Empire, because he is facing east, well, Germany, he's facing the German Empire. We were, that view, and we symbolizing characteristic.
Then our last stop on our walking tour was a visit to this church.
On the other side, this has another symbol.
And the carvings were just marvelous. So intricate.
But it's only 100 years old, because that's the year that
And they've been doing a lot of restoration.
it's erected.
We then went inside, and this ended our walking tour. From there we got on the bus and left Belgium
free traffic, people and goods. Well, on the other side you see there's a big traffic jam, big queue. Normally it isn't there, but people, the customs in Belgium, they're afraid that some people try to smuggle cheese or dairy products, or even cows and pigs and sheep across the border. And because of the foot and mouth disease, they're checking everybody. So normally around 6 in the evening you always get the traffic information. You never hear about the A16, which is that route to Belgium. And now every day you hear about 6-7 kilometers of traffic jam. You just take a look. Trying to smuggle people inside the United States. There's some farmers who try to sell their pigs for dump prices somewhere else, and they're checking them.
Our first stop in the Netherlands was right here in the town center of Delft, which of course is well known for its porcelain. And we would be visiting a porcelain works. But first, let's go to lunch.
We're having the little pancakes. Boy, does that look good, huh?
What do they call it? Pfeffer snippers, snitzers? I don't know.
We're in the square in Delft. We just eaten here, this place. It's really really a very quaint city. Now we're going into the pottery village.
Do you know how it was made?
No.
Delft was, at the end of 1500, was an important city in this part of Holland. They had a wall around it. They also had an office of the VOC. That was a company. They had ships. They sent to Japan, China for trading. They brought in Chinese porcelain into Delft as well for retail in Europe. Very expensive because it took them 2 to 3 years to return. Water is absorbed by the bisque.
The gentleman gave us a real detailed rundown on how they produce
As we come
the Delft porcelain. Very, very interesting. One of the things I was particularly interested in is in the trademark. So let's hear what he says about the trademarks.
That temperature melts the glaze, makes it... If you have an article and you turn an article, you should find details. Here you will find this logo, a candle holder, as you can see in the last tile as well, a candle holder receipt. You'll find it here also. But as I mentioned, there were 3 places, and you can find this one as well. A candle of a bottle with a J. That is the porcelain flesh, that is the old one. The last part of Delft, this one we have 25 painters. This one is also known as Royal Delft, maybe Royal. This logo, the hook with 3 stars, depicts the Delftse power in the north part of Delft. There are about 15 painters. But if you find an article and it has a crown and it says Royal Delft, it's an imitation. The thing is, there is royal and royalty in Holland. Royalty is in Belgium, you know, with the crown on. In Holland, when a company is older than 100 years, the company gets the title royal. That is how Shell got royal. And Philips and so on. This factory was founded in 1653 and is worldwide known as Royal Delft. The problem only is that nobody ever had that word royal registered in your trademark. That gave another one the opportunity to use it as a company's name. But it's only a company's name. You write Delft on an article, it's the name of the city. But when you look around these shops, most of the articles will tell you Delfts or Delft Blue. When it says Delft Blue, the article, then they're referring to the color they've used. It does not come from Delft. It's known as Delft Blue, but it doesn't come from Delft. When it says Delfts, a tiny S to it, it means like Delft style, like Delft. And in many places in Holland, in Belgium, in Germany, mass producing. Big producer is Taiwan, and also Morocco at this moment. They can get away with that one, because they don't say it's coming from Delft, it's Delft style or Delft Blue. Then you won't find that one a number. When you find on a number on the article, that is a model number, that is not a year of production. A year of production is stated in a code. That is if you find the logo on the bottom on the right hand side. On the left hand side you find the initials of the painter. You will not find hand painted or handwork on a genuine article. Main reason for that is that it is hand painted. We give you a certificate. But a certificate, you have to read it carefully. And it is only worth what it says. We guarantee that each article with our trademark has been made here and is entirely hand-painted. We also give a second certificate to it by the Chamber of Commerce of Delft. That's an official institute. They guarantee the process. Actually, they can control it whenever they want. Why is that done? Because many of the mass productions, also the one with the crown, they have a certificate and with a guarantee that the article is entirely decorated by hand. Which means they do the decals. You put a decal on by hand, it's decorated by hand. But they're not lying. Touching an article with a brush, it is legal to write hand painted on the article. Even if they write the word hand painted with a brush, that word is hand painted. So you're not stretching your tooth. That's the whole thing. Why is that done? Because Delft can't make that much. Painting a plate like that takes about 2 hours. The small one with the flowers on. But when that means 4 plates a day. But when you make them with decals, somebody can easily decorate 200, 250 a day. They can produce much more. If they do printing, linear printing, they can produce 1,000 plates per hour. The cheap habits affecting the price. Price for this plate here, sold directly, inclusive the sales tax, is $181.50. That is about $68. When a plate like that is sold through shops, the price doubles. That is normal. But when it's produced with a discount, it can be sold in a shop between 25 to 30 guilders, and that is a good price. They will sell it, however, between 25 guilders and 400 guilders. Which means that even in Delft, when an article is expensive, when it has a certificate, it is not necessarily genuine. Then you need a second certificate to it.
We then walked through the area where the kilns were and over to where they were taking off some of the flashings from the boys. And then we watched them do some painting. Very tedious work. This I found most interesting. Notice she's spinning that plate on a wheel. And what she's trying to do is to get it perfectly in the center, and you'll see why. Notice she's putting a stripe around the rim. There you can see it. Very amazing, isn't it? We then went out into the shop area. There was a lady there also painting. This one's done, as you can see, in different colors. And here is all the wares displayed on the wall. And that, of course, is the factory from the outside. Well, it was just a nice day, and we just walked around enjoying ourselves. We were told we had a little time before we'd get on the bus to head to Amsterdam to embark on a riverboat. We're here in well, it's time to go. Let's get on the bus.
Then suddenly there was the voice and he said, okay, I put my finger in the dike. That's how he saved a lot of people in that area. And there's now since a few years a statue of him at Spijndam. It's near Haarlem. You see him putting his finger in the dike. But nobody in the Netherlands knows the story. It's an American story brought to the Netherlands.
How about that? Well, here's the first sighting of our river cruise ship. It's tied up there next side to some others. As you can see, it was a beautiful evening. We enjoyed ourselves. Met up with a lot of others who had just arrived that day. And tomorrow, we're going to get up early and we're going to have a tour of Amsterdam. Well, we started the day by going to a diamond factory. We had a tour through it. It was interesting. Unfortunately, they didn't have any free samples. We were taken into a room where we, of course, could purchase diamonds. I'm not sure how many did, however. Then we took a boat trip. As you can see, there's the boat.
It's the Dutch weather.
Yes.
Do your dance. It's too slippery, otherwise I have to swim.
There's that one. Here comes ours. How many people, if they went on vacation, would take a boat trip in the rain? And I think he was really right.
The first thing we'll talk about in this country
about the weather. In the weather forecast, they said nice weather, maybe here there is stronger, 10 degrees centigrade. Of course, the river every time it was, the bridge was not there yet. They might open some doors.
It was interesting seeing all the houseboats along there, but notice how dirty the water was. They said that the weekend they had just had a big party down there, a festival. However, it looked awfully dirty.
The back of the windows almost always an irregular roof line.
Well, our next stop was at the Rijksmuseum, where we spent time viewing the great collection of Dutch and Flemish art. And let me tell you, our tour guide was fantastic. So we'll pick up and let her describe some of the artists and the way they painted.
But the first thing for most of us, and that's why later the impressions of France was crazy about it, he brings the background in the faces. Look, it was brown and greenish. And also the way he painted this, it's almost impressionistic. People in those days found it a bit stubborn, the way he painted. He was not so precise, but he has a touch that is very special. And not like that. It's not stressed out to it. It's more like drawing you with off. But look how it gives close to the also the way you take the nations. This cloth is not what you're drinking, because if you drink the whole cloth like this, it means handing it out to you. At the same time, don't get too close to it. It keeps someone up like this, keeps you up in the place.
Well, listen to her description of this piece.
So the people you see in it, he didn't do that. Now, why is this so special? Because this went for hundreds of years in the room over there. This is the old town hall. This is the town hall which we had until it burned down, and then we built the new big town hall, which is now, since the time of Napoleon, the Royal Palace. It was built as a town hall. And you can see it is old. It is really the windows, and there's grass growing out of the window. Look at the beautiful light colors and the different kind of colors of yellow. He also indicates that, it is built in the street, not on the square like nowadays, because of the houses on the side. He's also very honest, because here he writes that Peter Sanderman painted this 6 years after the building burned down, after sketches he had made 10 years before it burned down. So he is very honest and exact.
Well, that's an example of our guide's ability to make those masterpieces come alive. Now, the museum is one of the most popular attractions in the city, and it was designed by the same architect that was responsible for the central station. It opened in 1885 and holds the largest collection of art and artifacts in the Netherlands. The collection started when William V started acquiring pieces. And ever since, it's been growing. It now includes Dutch paintings from the 15th century until around 1900. One of the most famous pieces is Rembrandt's Night Watch.
Not by Rembrandt, because it looked so dark, and it darkened up over the years because it was between the door and the chimney, so there was a lot of smoke over it. It's cleaned a few years ago because somebody cut it up, and it had to be repaired, and now it's very clean.
Well, here we are out in front, and hey, let's see who's here.
I looked in there and I was looking for your painting.
They're down in the basement.
They're in the basement?
In a closet.
In the closet?
Yeah.
Is the door closed?
Well, there's a mop leaning against the door.
All right. What?
Joyce?
Joyce? Yeah. What do you think of that?
I just thought it was, when I the perfect word. It was heartbreak.
Okay, we'll see you back on the bus. Okay. Well, here we are now back at the riverboat. That's going to be our home for every day. Deck, and you can see how they tie one boat up to the other. So you walk through one to get to your boat. Well, we had lunch, and then this afternoon we're going to go out and sightsee ourselves. So let's go. As you can see, we're going to the Anne Frank house. This is the front of it. Quite a lineup. That is the church tower that she reported in her book. And there's looking down the canal right in front of the house. Yeah, right. You like standing in line?
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it.
We're moving. We went to purchase our tickets. I was still with video cameras. This is the brochure that we received when we went into the house. It was the home, of course, of Anne Frank for the 25 months she was in hiding from the Nazis, and the place where she wrote her diary. Such an emotional experience this was. I think we all remember the story. She was hiding upstairs, and this was a bookcase that opened up, and there you can see the stairs. To bring this a little more alive, let's take a quick look at some excerpts from the movie Anne Frank.
Story of a life that goes beyond anything you've seen before. I know where they're hiding. Volcurus, those who foretell the future.
Norway. What's that?
Stop her.
Well, needless to say, as we all headed back to the trolley to go back to the ship, we were pretty emotional. Quite an experience. Here we are on the trolley. Enjoy this ride. And here we're coming into the railroad station. Look at the bikes. You can tell their mode of transportation, can't you? Well, here we are, going back to the ship. It's, of course, the Blue Danube 2, tonight's the captain's dinner. Oh, I can do it. We'll see. There's the engine. Pretty fancy fancy food. Now, what do you call that?
It's Campari orange and lemon sherbet is also in there. The little berry over here, it's physalis or brown berry or golden berry, and it's from Cape Verdean Islands, so from Africa.
Oh, neat. Thank you. There's our French fry, and then they use mayonnaise with it. Roast beef. And here's our dessert. Oh, it's all laid out. Doesn't it look good? Thank you. And then after the dinner, we went up to the lounge, and they had a folk show. Then they asked people from the audience to join
They are imitated from old pictures or old clothes.
They then showed
We will
what the
show
women
now what we are
wore
wearing at
in
home.
the days gone
And we
by.
start at the foot. First we have black shoes.
Well, that finished the night. We got up bright and early the next morning around 5:45 because today we're going out and see the famed Ellesmere flower auction. By the way, it's day 7, it's Friday. Here we are inside this humongous building. We're up on a catwalk, and it gives us a real good bird's eye view of the bustle below.